What? You want to take a break? You want to keep going?
People are welcome to come get drinks, maybe briefly
Want to get
before
a
we...
drink break? And who wants to buy booze? Should we keep going? It's up to you. This is a democracy, right? That's why we fight wars in Afghanistan.
Silent. Not in here, it's not.
Let's export a little of this. Book 1, Razamatudi. Canto 1, Chicken Pie. Surprising voice out of clamor's edible poultry anthem flags an exact moment erupting tutti begins. How can you say that in Latin when horns and whistles recall from before a precise buried today? Exuberance counters the failure to shed inflicted syntactical devotion in place of pies where it goes when tutti, being the substantive declension of raz, stumbles out of a previous exile of insults into the joy of gravy. And thighs, don't forget thighs, flashing through rhymed proliferation of bangs intimate further hope. That's the tutti again, intractable, adamant beyond imagination's admirable reflection of receding bang, big as all get out, further openings seeming to stutter of small pies steaming endlessly. When it comes back reclaiming today, swallows dart through it, still buzzing with Dante's voice, and swart ships too, light-sodden air alive with bird song and goat bells figure a pie morning cannot surpass in other mornings and songs of raucous erectile excitements humming outside the arras, knowing whatever voyeurs lurk in its folds will never get it, especially given Tutti's refrain to the effect you should keep your fingers off the clinamen unless you're ready for the ride. This is from a work I've been working on for 2.5 years called Cosmographia, which is subtitled A Post-Lucretian Faux Micro-Epic. It's the only poem of its kind in the history of the world. No one will ever attempt to repeat this prospect. Post-Lucretian. Lucretius was a Roman poet, slightly older than Virgil, who wrote one poem in his life called De Rerum Natura, the history of the nature of things, which was the history of the whole schmear, the whole enchilada. And he did it for a student of his. He was an Epicurean, and he wrote this poem in order to help his student, as I often do, understand what it's all about. And he begins the poem with a state of the universe, and he's a student of Epicurus, the philosopher Epicurus, and he proposes that whatever this is starts with all these atoms just flowing in parallel flows together, nothing touching, and then something happens. He calls it the clinamen, the swerve, and one of those atoms just has a microscopic movement, and suddenly chaos ensues, and here we are. This is it, clinamen. I always hear clitoris, unfortunately, because of who I am. That's why it says, given Tutti's refrain to the effect, you should keep your fingers off the clinamen unless you're ready for the ride. Aaron, you want to do something? Is that going? Want to do a little something?
Okay, sure.
Come back, do a little something.
Sorry.
Curious thing to say.
After clitoris.
Now you have to play with that, eh?
Was there... Interesting. It's close to get...
Do you want me to play with you?
I don't care, you do whatever you want to do.
Why don't you read something and
Want me to read something else?
yeah, we'll kind of like
Okay.
try to make it work without sounding
This
like
is
that.
the last poem. Well, actually, I have to read this poem because this is the poem where the cows show up. And the cows become very important players in this poem. This is called Canto 2. I should explain to you in order to help you understand what's going on here, that the epigraph to this poem is from Charles Mingus's drummer, Danny Richmond. And it is Razzmatootie. Canto 2, Erectile Excitements. Ready for this? Helen was another tootie whose Raz launched some surprising acts out of Schenectady. Bygone eras massed on the verge, chanting her name till the cows came home. Cows here signify large groups of meaning headed for the nearest cliff or store window in the quest Helen bestowed upon erectile tissues, yearning to come forth in shining waters. Sweet showers still ring with buzz, jigs the works toward whatever pilgrimage can yet be found beyond dollar-day events in shades of dappled green, out the back door, past arts and swell tales of recurrent flow through old temples now given to towers, massive investments erected in names taught with monies to mess and tug, still speak of her tattered glory. Starved and secretly barfing in the bathroom in hope past participles roaming the stretches of words might open the secret to her awkward posture and bleeding hands. The shop windows unaccountably extend around former necessities, shredded and unstrung compositions into shoddy colonnades of erectile raz, swelling with dreams of release. That's where Tootie is known to enter. Or what H.D. called a Tootie eidolon, casting its glances hither and thither with reckless abandon, breeding sprees and spasms wreak havoc with celestial balance, while all along keeping tumescence in hand, though largely concealed, unless needed to bring democracy to some parched, distant land clamoring for cheap toilet paper.